another fantastic episode of Podcast of the Fallen. We are here talking about chapters 15 through 17, and I am one of your hosts, Matt. I'm here with Nate, as always.
Hello.
Well, morning, sunshine, or starshine. The Earth says hello.
What is that from?
I think it's from Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Or I have neither.
It creeped me out as a kid.
Oh, I didn't like it too much either. The book was good. I remember liking the Roald Dahl's books, but I didn't like that movie.
You gonna go see the new origin story movie with Timothy Chalamet?
I'm torn. I don't, maybe. We'll see. I mean, I always thinking like, oh, I need to go see that movie, and I don't ever see it until it's like out on streaming services for like 2 years. That's how I see most of my movies now.
Yep. So listeners, we'll see how this goes because normally we end up recording later at night. This time we're recording early Saturday morning, and I literally just woke up like 10 or 15 minutes ago. So we'll see how this goes.
It'll be fun. And there's a lot that happened here, so hope we don't ramble too much on certain things, but
Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Should we just jump in?
yeah, might as well.
Chapter 15. Kalam messes with a sailor on board the Ragstopper before revealing that he's a passenger for their voyage. Salkalan sneaks up on him and they exchange barbs. Salk says that Mebra is the one that arranged all of this. The two of them meet with the captain, who explains the situation in Aaron. There's been no Claw in the city for weeks, giving Pornqual total control. He's arrested the admiral of the Imperial fleet to keep them in the bay and is preparing to flee the city. Manala sneaks on board his ship with Kalam's horse. Duerker meets with Coltane and other leaders of the Chain of Dogs. They reject the idea of attempting to hold Ubarid and instead continue on to Aaron. The historian and Captain Lowell ride through the train and speak of the helplessness they feel. Lowell inducts about 50 former servants into the 7th Army. Duerker goes to speak with List, who sustained an injury during the Battle of Galore Ridge, and asks him to explain the visions he's been having. Felisin thinks on grief and refuses to let it touch her. Heboric argues against going along with Leomin and Toblakai, but she rejects his arguments, knowing that her sister will command the army that is sent to 7 cities. Toblakai is haunted by the spirits of those he's killed, and Heboric talks about the slow death of the city they walk through. When the historian asks Felisin why she keeps him around, she says that she does it for Bowden. The group comes upon a group of dead desert warriors killed by Soul Taken. Toblakai leaves to kill it, and Leomin says that Felisin must complete the ritual before they reach camp. Mappo and company arrive at a dead city and find one of Icarium's devices in the center of the city still turning. Icarium calculates it's been 94,000 years since he built it, and Mappo thinks privately that the Jag destroyed the city himself. Fiddler offers an alternate explanation that an Ascendant did it. They leave the city, and Crocus catches a Scaropust following them. They catch up to Apsalar and her father, and Pust reveals that he's laid a false trail for the shapeshifters to Tremolor, in a Zath house keeping a fragment of Warren pinned down in one place. The group prepares to enter the Warren.
That was just 15?
That was all just 15, yeah. 16's even longer.
Yeah, 16 was long. I forgot that that's how 15 ended. I thought that's how 16 started. So much had happened. That's not even the craziest of things. That's yet to come.
Nope. Oh, man. Already yawning. This is great. Really, when we're so tired like this is just our unfiltered thoughts, you know?
Exactly. It may be a little incoherent at times, but
Hey, you know what? I did really want to point out the epigraph for chapter 15. A god
okay.
walking mortal earth trails blood. That's just a cool quote.
That really is. I totally forgot that was the epigraph. Oh, read
And
that.
it's from a work called Sayings of the Fool. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like a fool saying.
Yeah. That's no, that's an interesting one. I feel like that's a description of most of the ascendants though in this story.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we ever see a god in this story, it's Shadathorn and Cotillion, and they cause the deaths of hundreds.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, yeah. I mean, they chose to save a couple people at least. We got to give them credit for that.
yep. They chose to save a couple people and then told Sari's father, we saved you from the massacre that we caused, so you're going to serve us.
And he's like, you know what? You win some, you lose some. He's like, my hands are tied here. I guess I got to. They at least gave him his arm back, or a new arm, I guess. So he's probably like, well, they didn't kill me at least, and they gave me new arms, so it could be worse, right?
Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this was a I like the intro to this where it was Kalam finally again, and got to see the ship.
Named Ragstopper.
And it literally sounds like it's falling to pieces as he's standing there. He's
Yeah,
like,
he's thinking you name a ship Ragstopper and I'm gonna start worrying.
I know. It wasn't how you said out loud though that like it finally clicked the name Ragstopper. It's one of those things where it's like unless you hear it, I don't feel like I really registered. But like I just remember like I'm like this ship sounds terrible.
Yep.
Like like it
The
should be retired.
the crew member he's talking to is like, "Don't worry, we won't sink. The captain's got a lucky shirt, you know."
Sailors have the best suspicions. Reminds me of pirates in the Caribbean where they always have like their weird suspicions and stuff and their weird
Mm-hmm.
all that. I think it just cracks me up. I thought it was interesting though, because isn't it? Because who I gathered that got Kalam on the ship was the dude from the other seven cities where he got the book,
Yeah,
right?
so Salkalon tells him that Mebra, that spy, is the one that figured out what Kalam was up to and arranged all of this.
Yeah,
That's pretty fun. You
yeah,
probably didn't think Mebra would come up again.
I know there's a lot of things brought up again in this part that I was like I totally forgot about it. Like a little later on when we start meeting the bodyguards again for Sha'ik, I was like
Oh yeah.
I don't remember them being like that. I mean, we
Yep.
didn't get to know a lot about them, but still,
Yeah, all we saw of them was confronting Kalam and looking stern and badass, and then they slaughtered a bunch of people.
yep, a bunch of those red blades. I thought it was a interesting bit where he starts messing with the one guy on the ship though. He's like, yeah, there's just some mystery dude. We haven't really met him yet. He's supposed to be riding
He's
with us.
probably like one of those stupid perfumed elects, though. I wouldn't trust him.
Oh yeah. No, this guy sounds terrible. Yeah, you shouldn't trust him.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, Salkalon sneaks up on Kalam,
Oh yeah.
and they exchange barbs because Kalam does not trust anybody,
Nope.
especially when they sneak up on him.
Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't trust him. We see later on more of what he says, but yeah, no. I think it's funny. That one line was pretty funny though. I was like, this feels like a sailor's like explanation for anything. Your last port of call, Balar, big red-haired woman, all gruff and muscled, just like I like him. Ah, that was a time.
Yep, and they brought weapons in advance of Tavor's fleet,
Yep.
so that's fun. I mean, we see the fleet coming to Seven Cities later. What do you think of Felisin's sister leading a fleet to Seven Cities to exact revenge?
I, I'm curious because I don't like I don't know. I think it's interesting because I feel like this is just more big picture, I guess, because I don't have much on her sister
Yeah,
yet to like make a real good call, but all the leadership feel like, at least in this empire, now, at least on this continent, feel a bit renegade-ish. Like they're doing their own thing for their own reasons. And there's no like one goal of the empire. So like her sister, I feel like is just doing it just because now she has power. She's gonna go do her own thing, um, to attack to get some form of revenge. Make her mark, make her statement. Because it's just like the guy, Ormqual, I think his name is,
yeah,
the High Fist, who was just kind of dropping out of the empire. It seems like and taking what he can and running with it.
yep.
So, which I mean, always works out in the end, right? Like it never goes bad.
No, never.
Like it's always just a happy ever after.
um, Jumping back to Kalam and Salkalon's conversation, talking about the captain. The man's far above average in wits and seems to find his only intellectual stimulus in gestures of subterfuge and obfuscation. No doubt he went overboard, as it were, in his mysterious meeting with you at the inn.
Where was that again?
543. I just love that he makes a stupid pun, and then Kalam just can't help but smile at that.
Oh yeah. No wonder I took an instant liking to him. Yeah, because he's like he doesn't seem like the captain that's just wishy-washy. He gets paid for his loyalties.
Yep. I'm glad we're understood because your explanation so far has more leaks than this ship. Glad? Such understatement, Kalam. I am delighted we're so clearly understood.
Yeah. Yeah. They yeah, I love their quips to each other. Especially later on, they just get better and better, I feel like.
Yep.
Oh yeah, because later down he's like, he does have a point. Like he gets annoyed that
Yep.
he's right.
Yep. That they should intervene with the treasurer so that the crew doesn't assign blame to all of their passengers.
Yeah. I was like, smart. He's like, Club's just like, I'm just gonna jump down and take care of this real quick. He's like, just let it play out. Let's see where this game takes us.
Yep. The captain, finally, any further cursing on this ship, no matter how inventive, comes from me and no one else.
Oh yeah. He's like, you guys aren't allowed to say anything. That's my job.
Because the treasurer's insults to Sulkalan. You insolent excuse for a crab's anus. Roll back into your hole, blood smeared turd.
Forgot about that bit.
You
Because that's
insolent excuse for a crab's anus is
an interesting insult.
wonderful.
Oh yeah. This is where they hop down though, and they like and the bodyguards are kind of eyeing them. There's
And then
like
the
the
treasurer
true.
just collapses because he's wearing a thick rain cape, and
Yep.
I think he just
Yeah.
passes out from heat.
Something like that. Yeah. Captain's like, let me set something straight. I'm in charge here. I'm the captain now.
Yep. We learn more about the situation in Aaron. Formqual has arrested the Imperial Admiral, which is why the fleet hasn't come to the rescue of Coltane.
Oh yeah, that makes sense then.
Which I'm
Yeah,
like, what
because
a stupid, stupid move.
oh yeah, terrible. And Coltane's over there like basically dwindling with no help. If they had the help, they would have wiped out most of that rebellion, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because as well, there's been no claw operatives, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why? I don't know. I feel like Lysine would want like a tighter grip on everything going on, but it feels like this whole campaign on Seven Cities is just like she's just like, I'm just gonna ignore it. We're just not gonna deal with it and just let it run its course.
Yeah, no one knows why there's no claw. Um,
Yeah,
so that's fun.
yeah. It's not sounding good here.
Nope.
I feel like this is the collapse of some empire, maybe.
Could be.
Could be. I mean, title of a series, maybe. But yeah, no, the it's an interesting situation, and now they're just fleeing. I love how on the one ship though, he's like, oh no, on that ship they're taking his horses. He likes his horses, so they're just gonna take that ship. I'm like, what? Like a greedy guy. Like,
Yep. And then Manala, and then the next scene, we see Manala sneaking Kalam's super expensive horse onto the ship.
yep. And they're like, oh, who are you? Oh, that's a nice horse. Yeah, no, please come aboard.
Yeah, the master of horses or whatever is too busy to recognize her, and one of the like ship crew members is like, "Ah, did he get that horse recently?" Yes, yes, he
Yes, he
did.
did. Yep. Yeah. No, it sounds like a mess right now.
Yeah, I personally don't think Kalam and Manala's romance is super earned.
Oh, no,
Like,
no.
there's like two or three scenes between them total, and then suddenly Manala is chasing him across the ocean.
With no understanding why. I'm like, okay, well, there's just it just feels so rushed and so out of place to me.
Hey, some women like guys that are built like a bear.
And that are hard to understand and really don't fit the image of a perfect date. No, it's such a weird like I remember reading it and I was like, what a weird trying to make a love story happen.
Yeah, I think there's a few more examples where it's better, but
Yeah. I mean
yeah,
it's only book two, so he can try again. Erickson on some love stories. I mean the Crocus Apslar one I feel like naturally worked out because it's teenagers.
yeah.
It's like just a easy like give me like, oh yeah, this we can make this happen.
If there's nothing else, we can move on to Duiker.
Yeah, let's go to Duiker.
Everyone's depressed.
Title of their album. Because what part is this? Let's
So
see.
Lowell inducts like 50 servants into the Seventh Army,
That's right. Yep.
and they reject. Before that, Duiker meets with the leaders of the chain, and they reject the idea of heading to Ubarid and attempting to hold it.
That's right. Yeah.
I love Bolt's logic. Historian, did you understand any of that? As well as you, uncle. Will his position be duly recorded? Yes. And presumably adjudication requires the presence of advocates, not to mention a high fist. Yes. Where is the nearest high fist? Aaron. Then to resolve this matter of the captain's commission, we must make all haste to Aaron.
I know. I thought that was funny. You're just like, look, we can't do anything until we get to Aaron. Let's head out.
Yeah, because Solmar brings up like, actually, sir, legally, you can't take away my captain's position because of how I got it. So take that. And Bolt's like, oh yeah?
Well, for us to resolve this matter, we must then not do that.
Yep. Bolt is no dummy. And
You know.
Kasoma's like, well, if we hold Ubarid, then Admiral Nock will come to our aid. And Bolt's like, no. If he could have, he would have already. So
Yeah.
why would they?
I know. It's like you should get the picture by now. They're not coming. They're not helping you out. Yeah, I thought that was interesting though, that they're just like, well, we can go to this one place, and like, no, we can't because we'll die if we go there. Like, no, but we should go to the one place. Didn't you hear our conversation? If we go there, we won't be able to hold it. No,
Yep.
but let's go to it. Let's go to it anyways.
Let's go anyways.
I'm like, guys, that is none of that logic makes any sense, but okay.
Yep. And then Bolt is like, where's the dog that keeps following me around? And Sorma Renath is like, it's like 7 paces to your right.
Oh yeah. And they're all like they all kind of jump because they're like, what? I thought that was funny. Because as well, they're kind of spooked by what's his bucket knowing where it was as well.
Oh yeah.
They're like, how did he know?
The healers are drawing so much on the Warrens that it's damaging their own bodies, and Duerker saw a healer's arm snap when he lifted a pot from a hearth.
Oh
That's
yeah,
fun.
I thought that was interesting though. I didn't realize that's how I mean like we haven't got much of explanation on their magic system, but like I thought it was interesting. Like that's what can happen.
Yep. Don't draw too much power.
Because you may break your arm. Yeah. It's yeah, it doesn't sound like great conditions for them right now. Like I remember reading this and I was like, how are they gonna get out of this? Because it doesn't sound like they have many options right now. Um, like we see it a little bit further ahead, but like Bjorker mentions his horse is like because they're like, your horse is the healthiest, and he's like, what do you mean? I can feel its bones as I'm riding. Like it gets skinnier and skinnier as the days go on. You
Yep.
can't tell me my horse is one of the best.
But it probably is.
No, it probably is, which is rather unfortunate.
Yep.
But it sounds pretty bleak and dismal. And of course the nobility and everyone is trying to make their own plans. And it's like, nope, it's not how this is gonna work, guys. Don't do it.
There is kind of a uplifting scene though. Lol inducts the servants into the army.
Yeah. Because he's like, you are all of value. He's like, they try to give us the gold to buy you back, but they're not getting you.
Yep. And Lol says under his breath, I think he kind of sighs it like, time to be a captain.
It's like time to get back into doing my thing.
Kind of moving.
Yeah. It's good to see though that they're trying to help out the servants. So like I think it's been really cool of Coltane and the leadership too. I think it shows more of their character once again. Like they're not willing to put up with stupidity and like entitledness. They understand the situation they're in. They do, and they're like, you know, we need help, and these people are valued. Like they like the way they approach it as well. They're like, you're gonna join the army. They're like, nope, we respect you guys. You're gonna join us. You're not going back to what you were. You're now part of the army. You're free of servitude, essentially. Which I mean, it's not ideal situation, I guess, but it's better than what they were being beat
Yeah.
up by the entitled rich people.
Yeah, may not be the best place to leave servitude and go serve in an army. That's where you're probably almost certainly going to die.
Oh yeah, no, it's not ideal, but better than being the servants to a bunch of nobility that you lost someone lost their pet dog and started beating up one of them. So I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
could be worse.
We get Corporal List just gets like the most unfortunate injury ever. He leaps down
Yep.
into a ditch and just a javelin head or an arrowhead or something just pierces the skin between his big toe and his next toe,
Yeah.
and it like takes him out because infections,
Yeah.
and the healers are
Which
already worked to death.
which I forget like that's like back then like that was a huge thing. Like if you had a broken bone, you may have a shot of coming back. Like you may not have full usability of that arm again. But if you had an infection, small cuts and stabs like that could kill you quite easily. I mean, I don't know if easily is the right term, but you die a slow, painful death.
Yes, yes,
Which,
you do.
yeah. So, yeah, poor List getting nailed in the face and then now stepping on a javelin.
Oh no, so that was Captain Law that got the mace to the
Oh, never
face
mind.
that
I'm
just
getting
has
them
half a
confused now.
face. No, it took me until like my third read to separate the two.
I thought all happened to him, and I was like, oh crap, poor guy.
Nope. But I guess if there's an upside to this, List is seeing visions.
Oh yeah, that's right. Visions of the creepy hand, the
Yeah, turns
multi-jointed
out it's a
hand.
Jagoot.
Yeah, we're getting more of the deep lore and history of the world, which I've really enjoyed. It's been fun these few chapters to read that. Because he's like, "What do you see?" He's like, I see this bone. I see this bony hand." He's like, "Oh, Jagoot? You have visions of Jagoot? Tell me about it."
And I think that's where that scene ends with Duiker.
Yeah, that was the ending. I remember that. I think it's interesting though, like this is repeatedly throughout this Chain of Dogs campaign, but how much Tewicker reflects on Hood. And he's like, Hood smiles. Hood is smiling. He's so happy about this. This is great for Hood.
I mean, yeah,
Which I he's 100% not wrong, but I just think it is interesting how much he references that, like in like how much he thinks on death, which is inevitable in the situation they're in, but like his philosophy on it. But
yeah. Hood seems like Hood is like the one that they use most often to curse.
yep, which I find that to be interesting as well. Hood is what they is part of their curses. Trying to think because they don't really use anyone else, right? When they're cursing.
We've heard like Fenner's Hoof and
Oh
Tog's
yeah,
Toes and stuff like that. Beru Fend, I think, is another one we've heard. So there's a few others.
his toes. Yeah, Hood's breath.
Yep.
That one always cracks me up. Like, does he have that bad of breath? Like, does he not brush his teeth well then?
I mean, who knows? The only people that meet him are dead.
That's true. So they probably have bad breath. It's probably just the thing. He probably doesn't brush his teeth because he's like, I want to make them feel comfortable, you know?
Well,
We're the
I'm
same.
sure everyone on the chain of dogs is brushing their teeth every day.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm sure they have like pristine, they all have the whitening toothpaste, you know?
There you
Especially,
go.
oh, no, the nobility of the whitening toothpaste. Everyone else has just like regular, like bottom
A
shelf, but
twig.
twig. Yeah. No, they're using the twig with their toothpaste.
There you go.
Brush their teeth. They've ran out. They all got worn out. So along the road, it's just littered with toothbrushes occasionally.
Yeah, toothbrushes and not corpses. That's what they're
Yeah.
leaving behind.
Yeah. No, corpses. No, that's left at the battlefields. On the road though, it's toothbrushes. But yeah, I can't think of too much else that happens here, right?
Cool. After
So
Duerker, we have Felisin.
finally, yes.
I want to start out with a quote that she thinks in her mind. Grief rapes the mind, and I know all about rape. It's a question of acquiescence, so I shall feel nothing. No rape, no grief.
Yeah. I remember yeah, that I remember that one. That was an interesting like thought she had. Because she had quite a few like that along this chapter.
Yeah, I mean,
Um, top of that one.
her role is slowly coming upon her.
Yeah. I think it's interesting though to see how she's approaching this whole situation of just she's accepted it as just like, yeah, this is it. This is what's happening, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else.
We learn that Toblakai is tortured by the spirits of the people he's killed.
Oh yeah, Duiker exposes him.
Heboric.
Or Hoboric, yeah, no. I keep getting all these stupid names confused.
Well, you keep getting the two historians confused, which makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's Heberic Light Touch. Maybe I should just call him his full name and then I will never get confused.
You
But
should just say the guy without hands.
oh yeah, the handless one. But no, he I thought his interaction with the Toblakai very interesting, where he just keeps like attacking him, like and just bugging him of just you're haunted by them. You can't beat me.
Yeah. And then Toblakai, when I speak to you next, it will be when I kill you.
Yep.
And then he proceeds to not talk directly to Haboric for the rest of the scenes that we see them in.
Nope. I thought that was so funny because he's like, I'm done. He seems like the kind of thug in most stories that like doesn't speak very intelligently. Like when it comes to combat and certain things of that is just like insanely intelligent about it all. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny just to hear him just kind of bug him the whole time of just those ghosts, they're getting you. He's like, I will add you to my ear collection. But
I love Felisin and Heboric's whole conversation that starts with her noticing all the pot shards. Pot or pot shards, because it's an E in there. Seems to be one of Ericsson's favorite words.
I thought it was a typo.
No, he does it pot shards with an E. I think that might be the actual way that you say it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a few cases where I was like, that's not, is that the right word? It's like, that looks like a typo. But yeah, I guess
Yeah.
if it's shards, yeah.
So starting with Fellison, I will think of this when I next carelessly break a pot. I know scholars who claim they can map entire extinct cultures to the study of such detritus. Now there's a lifetime of excitement. Would that I could trade places with one of them. You're not serious, Haboric. I am not? Fenner's test glass, I am not the adventurous type. Perhaps not at first, but then you were broken, shattered, like these pots here.
And he's like, that's a very deep philosophical thought of yours, right?
Tell me you've learned no truths, Haboric. I've learned one. There are no truths.
My math professor would disagree, but he's
But
like,
then
this is,
Liam. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, no, my math professor, we talked about truths the other day because he's like, this is true. The math speaks for itself.
But then Leoman says, your journey was rebirth, as she has said, and so there was pain. Only fools would expect otherwise. That's a pretty baller quote.
Yeah,
Rebirth means pain.
it's true. Now that's truth, Mr. Light Touch. I'm just gonna say that anytime I find some truth. I'm just gonna be like, remember this. Yeah, I think it's been interesting. I didn't take the Toblakai dude to be so aggressive with everything. Like in the initial meeting that we saw with the Sha'ik, I didn't take him to be a very aggressive attacker type of guy. But then again, I should have made that connection when he had a bunch of ears on a string or something
Yep,
that
he has
he
a bunch of
carries
ears
around.
on his belt
Yeah.
of people he's killed.
Now that I think it, the more like I've read and thought about that, I'm like, that's kind of messed up.
I
It's really
mean,
gross.
Heboric and Toblakai are just two people that meet and they instantly know that they dislike each other. Like
Yep.
I've met people like that where I meet them and I'm immediately like, I don't think that I will get along with you.
Yeah. I feel like that's how it works at our work sometimes when people come up to the window. I'm like, is this someone I like? Do I want to help them?
Sometimes it's not.
Nope. Like the lady on the phone yesterday, I was like, we wouldn't get along. Leoman, though, feels like a bit of a, what's the word? The machine that the Germans used, that the Brits cracked. The Enigma, isn't that what it's called?
Oh, an enigma. Yeah,
Yeah, that's the word I'm thinking of. I was like, what? I was trying to make sure I had it because I was like, the Enigma doesn't sound right. But I was like, isn't that what they used in World War II? Right? Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, because Haboric makes the observation that Leoman will make all the sounds of faith and belief, but he's not really. He's a cynic,
Oh yeah, no,
and he'll do whatever it takes.
he seems very much like a what's the word? Double agent, but not. Like a guy who looks out for his own interests, I guess.
Yep, definitely.
And then this is the part where they're heading towards the oasis, right? Like they haven't made it there. They're just heading that way.
Yeah, they're heading that way. They go to a cache of supplies and they find a bunch of desert warriors that have been killed by a soul taken. And Toblakai is immediately like, I'm gonna go kill it.
Yeah, he just rushes off,
Uh-huh.
and Hedberg's like, "Oh, please let him take him. Please let him take him."
And Leoman's like, it's not going to.
He's like, that's not gonna happen, not with him. But
Uh
the
oh,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Okay, I guess I will. So Toblakai, I guess this was a question I had. Are they an older race or a current race, if that's a thing?
Yes.
Okay, because like,
I'll raffle that.
but they're like, from what I've gathered from the background, you may be able to answer this then. But he, they're like a warrior tribe or warrior group of people.
Yeah, so they're like a warrior like race. He's not native to Guinevere. Not Guinevere. He's not native to Seven Cities.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I just want to like, I was like, who's his, what's his people again? What's their story? That makes sense.
Don't ask me why I started saying Guinevere instead of Seven Cities. I have no idea. But
Why did you? Raffo?
no, just an honest mistake that time.
Dang it. Waiting for the slip ups. But what were you gonna say after you?
We also find out that if Felisin is not Sha'ik Reborn, the ritual of opening the Book of Drishna will kill her.
Yeah, which
So that's always fun.
yeah, and she just chooses to go with it.
Yep. I mean, it works out.
Yeah, it's not going too bad for her at the moment.
Anything else about Felisin?
Um, I like, but I don't like where she's at in the story. Like, I feel like we've talked about her a lot in my opinions of how much she's annoyed me, but I like she feels a little more like she's come. I don't even know like how I'm trying to say this, but like she's come around to understand herself maybe a little more, just kind of accept things. We see a little later on a little bit when she's like kind of talking about each person,
Yeah.
like how she views and sees herself. But no, I do like kind of where she's at in the story and the character growth, I guess if you can say that much about her. It's cool to see how she's dealing with things now, especially in this situation. I think it's nice. I like it.
Yeah. Next we've got Icarium
Oh, in
fi-
the
finding the machine that he built
okay.
94,000 years ago.
This I was really excited to talk about if I marked the right pages. Like I wrote some of the page numbers down because I really liked what it said. Yeah, I loved how we through this bit and the next couple chapters is just Mappo's perspective in the group. Like we just get his point of view, which I
Yeah.
really liked because we haven't seen Icarium yet, which I feel is understandable because of like kind of who he is. I feel like it'd not be as enjoyable to read through as
Yeah.
I like Mappo's perspective, but I really enjoyed seeing Mappo recognize where they are and like learning a bit about his culture as well. Of like he explains like how their culture, their language was like of a higher order in a sense. Like their language had hidden meanings, hidden ways of saying things, of like
Yep.
messages and maps and just things, which I thought was a really cool concept to think about. But I thought it was interesting to see him just go, wait a second, I know where we are. I gotta go find him. This isn't good. And just like immediately hurries after him. And once he finds him, is cool and kind of funny to see Fiddler and Crocus run up behind him and then just go silent, like, oh yeah, we
This is a moment that we should
this
not
yeah.
interrupt.
This is a moment here. They're having a moment. Because it's interesting to see Icarium just stand there and like analyze everything. Like he has no memories per
Hmm.
se, but he like is like, oh yeah, no, I estimate this to be like 94,000 years old or whatever it was.
Yeah, he calculates it based because when he built it, he wrote in Jagut, like in Jagut script or the Jagut language on the machine, the
Hmm.
date, and then based on where it's at now, he can calculate how long it's been.
Yeah. No, I think it's so cool. It's the Omto script. I don't know. I just love this kind of stuff. I think it's so cool for the world building and like deep lore, I guess, and like ancient history vibe. I think it's kind of fun. And I really like the quote, because he talks about like Icarium and like Mappo starts like thinking like, oh, he destroyed this place out of his blind rage and his power. And I like the quote where it helps maybe explain it, but he's like, you did Icarium, or because Icarium's like, who destroyed the city, I wonder. Then Mappo thinks you did Icarium, yet even in your rage, a part of you recognized that you yourself had built and left it intact. Which I think, if how true that statement is, I think that's interesting to show the kind of mode that Icarium goes into in terms of his destructive power that is revealed. That
Yeah,
he's still he's not 100% mindless, but he can recognize some things and hold himself back, it sounds like.
we get a sense of how powerful he is in this scene,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
to the point where Fiddler recognizes what's happening and is like, it was probably an ascendant.
Yeah. They made this one god mad. He came down and slapped him.
And Icarium's like, you know what? That makes sense. Gods did used to do stuff like this back in the day.
It's like nowadays they're a little more subtle. They just kind of weasel their way through things. Yeah, I think it's interesting as well just to see how old he is and how old everything is.
Yeah, he's if that's 94,000 years ago, he's definitely older than that.
Yeah. No, because to build something like that, he had to be really intelligent. He had to be at a certain point where he's learned all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably took a few thousand years. So, guy is ancient. And we see
Yes.
what I liked a bit more in some of these other chapters is just how much it talked about kind of the world and how ancient things were. And like things of the past where it's like, yeah, the land, the stories, the spirits, we have no idea. They kind of left. They've been destroyed too many times, I guess. But I don't know if you have any other thoughts on these or Ikarim and Mappo.
Not really. Just that it kind of breaks me a bit, Icarium. Just
Also,
just seeing how good of a dude he is and how intelligent and nice he is, but then knowing that he's also done all of this stuff and just like the cyclical eternal amnesia that he has, that would be tough.
and it breaks Mappo's heart as well because he's like, because the one line he's like, I can't look at you. He's like, don't turn around. He's like, I don't want to see your face. Just because he as well recognizes it. He's like, he's gotten to this point of like how good he is. I don't have anything else unless you do.
I don't either. They leave the city and Iscaro Pust is following them. They catch up to Apsalar and her dad,
What a
and
creep.
turns out Iscaro Pust has been laying a false trail for the shapeshifters to Tremolor so that they can
Loki,
get taken by the Azath House.
Loki smart.
So, if you remember Durica's very first scene, there's a
Hmm.
red handprint on a wall that he sees washed away by rain. That was Iscaro Pust.
Where was that again?
That was in Hissar.
That was a handprint of Pust?
I'm well, it's not confirmed, but I think so because all of the signs of the path of hands that we see later on are red handprints.
Oh, it's from him. Interesting. I didn't realize that.
So Pust has just been working behind the scenes to make sure that none of these shapeshifters take the
Innocent.
throne of shapeshifters.
Yeah. Because so Tremlor is the Azath house, but the place where they can become ascendants is in Shadow Throne's temple.
Yeah, the gate is in Pust's temple.
And he cleaned it up, made it look nice, and then led everyone astray.
There you go. Yep.
Gotcha. That, yeah, it's all making sense. Because at first I was like, wait, isn't Tremolor where they want to go to become ascendants?
No.
But then yeah, it's like, it's clicked now. Makes sense. But I thought it was funny how Crocus like lagged back for a little bit and then like jumped Pust and was just like ready just to kill him. Because how
Yeah.
much he doesn't like him.
And Fiddler's like, don't worry. Next tree we come to, we're stringing him up.
He's like, don't worry, I promise, we'll do it.
But then they go into a forest later and they don't string him up.
I don't know.
Fiddler's not a man of his word.
Really isn't. Should have expected it though, to be honest.
Oh, and Iscaro Pust puts the thought in Mappo's head, like, you might have a fragment of this warren in your sack.
Oh yeah, because it added more to my confusion of warrens this whole chapter.
Makes
So like,
sense.
there's this fragmented warren, there's this other fragmented, like warrens are broken, and I'm like, hold on now. I like already started to have a loose understanding. Now I don't even understand them even more now.
Yep.
Yes. So we got a fragmented warren that's held in place by this Azath house.
Yes.
Like what? None of this logic makes any sense to me now. Like the whole fragmentation and breaking down of Warrens, I guess.
Well, even Fiddler and Mappa are like, I didn't know a Warren could be torn apart.
Exactly. And then Pust, it seems to make sense to him though. He's like, oh yeah, no, this is how it works.
Well, does it make sense, or is Puss pretending that it makes sense to him?
I don't know. Either way, I feel like this would be the one thing he does know. Apparently, if he's made a whole false trail for a path of hands, he's a little smarter than we give him credit, I think. But
Or maybe his god just knows.
yeah, one of these days though, I'd like a whole thing on it though, just to understand it all. But we'll see if that ever comes. But yeah, I don't have much else here.
Well, welcome back, listeners. When you listen to the episode, I'll probably leave in like a 5 or 10 second gap, but this is 3 days after the last bit that you just heard because something came up in my life that I had to go take care of right away as we were recording. So,
Can't believe it's Tuesday already.
yep, that was on Saturday, and this is Tuesday.
Um,
But I believe Matt had some questions about Warrens with the whole Tremorlore thing and
yeah,
inside Mappo's rucksack and all that stuff.
I don't even remember what I was asking.
I
So it
don't
may
either, to be
be maybe
honest.
you're a little bit repeated then for a second. But I was just thinking like we've already established some things about Warrens that like I loosely understand. And now here we get this. Oh, we just got this Warren kind of like stapled down with this is House. And everyone's kind of like, this is a thing. So I mean it makes me feel good that I'm just as confused as the people in the story that like I shouldn't really understand this, but it just adds even more to the confusion of Warrens and how they work.
Yep. Like I said, that might keep happening.
Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, you mentioned, and then his rucksack, Mappo's rucksack, it's, what was it, Pusk, who's like, oh yeah, you probably have stuff in there that's from this Warren, or maybe, or like just as old as this. And I'm like, hold on.
Yeah, it's hinted at for sure. And then Mappo has the thought, do I have a piece of this Warren in my rucksack? Can Warrens be shattered like this?
Yeah. Because then it makes me think of like them as, I mean, I feel like it's been established, but like Warren's more as a living thing. So I think it's mentioned like it's trying to escape or something from being held down, I guess. I don't know. Or from being fragmented, if I understood that bit right, but I'm not too sure.
I believe that is how it's phrased. Yeah.
Yeah, Warrens. That's where we left off, and I'm still confused. Will be.
Yep. So that might be an abrupt and convoluted and messy ending to chapter 15, but I think that's about the best we could do under the circumstances.
Yeah. But anyone else who's maybe read the series or is reading it along as they're listening, yeah, Warrens are confusing, and I hope you understand them more than I do. And if not, I'm glad to hear I'm not alone.
My first time through, I just kind of accepted, well, Warrens are here, and who knows what I will understand about them. So,
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I don't think I'm alone in this, but I get fixated on random things. And for some reason, this is one of those things in the story that I'm like, I just want to know how this works. And
yeah.
so my brain just won't let it go. Like, just accept it. Just, just let it be. Let it be.
Yeah, well, especially coming off of months of reading Brandon Sanderson, where magic is basically science.
He ruined it for me.
And everything is explained, every detail, and characters are like, I understand the logic of this magic. I can probably do this. And then they figure out that they can do that because it follows their
Some,
laws. And
yeah,
Malazan is like, actually, that's probably not how magic, at least not how in this world, that's not how magic works.
I know. I'm like, why can't there be some form of logic and reasoning to this? But then again, magic is magic, so I shouldn't question it too much.
Yep. And I'll just throw it out there. Maybe there is some logic and reasoning that you just don't see yet.
Yeah, probably not. He's pretty good at hiding things.
All right. Should we move to chapter 16?
Yeah, why not? Let's get a move on.
Cool. Chapter 16. Dewarker and the chain of dogs approach the river Vathar through a forest filled with butterflies. Dewarker is asked to join the foolish dog clan in a vanguard, and he agrees. When they get to the river, they come upon the Salanda and the Marines that disappeared earlier. Nether asks Duiker to go with them in a rowboat upriver to see what's happening. As they do, Stormy tells Duiker of their journey. The Marines will take wounded from the train to Erin. Captain Lowell recognizes their names and says that they're part of the Emperor's old guard. Gessler threatens to punch the officers if they promote him, and Coltaine punches him hard enough to bloody Gessler and break his own hand. Nil and Nether realize that Gessler, and likely Coltaine, are on the edge of ascendancy. An emissary from Kobollo Dom arrives, offering safe passage for the refugees, which the nobles immediately jump on, but which Coltaine immediately rejects. The process of Felisin becoming Sha'ik Reborn has begun. She sees things about each of them and commands each one to open the book. Leoman sees nothing, but what Toblakai sees makes tears run down his cheeks. He attacks Aboric, and the priest stops him dead, shocked that he is still connected to Finner. Fiddler's group enters the warren containing Tremorlore. They walk through an old forest for an hour, then decide to rest before continuing on to the house and the shapeshifters assailing it. Mappo talks with Relok and then hears a conversation between Icarium and Absolar about memories. She relays to him the memories of each soul that has touched her and the chaos and contradictions that they cause. Icarium says that he would never hurt Mappo and begins to cry. When the group breaks camp, Icarium and Mappo stay behind, and Icarium convinces Mappo to tell him the truth. Icarium has killed entire peoples, and when consumed by his rage, cannot stop killing. It began here at Tremolor, and Icarium will accept eternal imprisonment as just punishment. Mappo is tearing apart from within. Icarium tells the others that they should assist the Azath in taking him, but Puss says that they need him to defend the house first. Crocus threatens the priest and says they need more help in case things go to shit, and Icarium kills the house, and the Hounds of Shadow appear in answer. They head towards the maze around the Azath. The Salanda leaves with the wounded just as the refugees begin a mass exodus across the river. Corbollo Dom sent a secret envoy to the nobles, knowing that Coltaine would not accept. He planned to use the refugees to bottle up the 7th Army and destroy them. Duiker, along with Marines and sappers, goes across the river with the refugees. Sormo Enath is struck by arrows and butterflies come to collect his soul. Duiker rouses the refugees to help take out Dom's soldiers on the other side, and they set to it with ferocity. He starts choking Nethpara for what he's caused, but is choked out himself. I need a breath after that one.
Only a few things happened.
It's a long chapter.
It really was.
First off, the Marines aren't dead.
Hallelujah. They get to tell their tavern stories.
I was just going to let you think that they died until they came up again.
You know, I had a feeling maybe they would come back up, but at the same time, I was like, knowing this story, I could very well see them just be dead. Like him just like, yeah, and they're dead. So I was like, if we see him, we see him. If we don't, we don't.
Pretty much.
But it was cool to learn they're part of the old guard.
Yes.
I thought that was very cool.
They
and
were
hilarious.
There with the Emperor, and they've just been demoted.
Yeah. They wanted to be demoted, and they're just like, don't you dare try and promote us or make us do anything. We do not want that.
I will punch you if you try to promote me.
And then Coltaine just punches him.
Yeah, what did you think of that reveal after the punch?
I was a little dumbfounded. I was like, that just happened? Because like, I mean, they break each other in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're like, they're almost descendants. And I'm like, wait a second, what? Hold up. What is that supposed to mean? It's like, when did this happen? Like, it was a really cool reveal, but it just left me, I think, it just added more questions to the questions.
That makes sense. I'll say with Gessler and Stormy and Truth, it might have something to do with that warren they went through, or what happened.
I did wonder that because they mentioned like their skin being bronze and all that stuff, and like they seem to have a lot of energy, and
just like Bowden's was bronze.
Yeah, but still, he died. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why did he have to die? I'm still like, I'm still annoyed by that. He may have not been a great guy in certain aspects, but he still was really cool.
He needed to sacrifice himself for Felisin and get her to the point that she needed to be to take the role of Sha'ik.
Sha'ik better be cool for Bound to die. I better get like a really cool like.
You are more attached to Bowden than I think I've seen anyone else be.
Look, I think it's just more of the fact I learned that he's like an old, like the old guard secret agent type thing, or born into that. So I think it's just more of that fact where I'm like, hold on, there's like some cool history here, and then it's taken away from me. But that's why I'm attached to him, I think.
That makes sense.
I don't know. And he was the reality check, I feel like, in a lot of ways for Felisin. Like he kind of would like just tell her how it is sometimes. Even though she chose not to accept it, I feel like he kind of was there to kind of like be the rebuttal, be like, no, that Bennett dude was a crappy, he was a terrible guy. He died in way too of an easy way.
Yes,
Things like
but
that.
also you could argue that him dying was the ultimate reality check, and it's what finally
I,
cracked through.
yeah. I mean, this is true. Yeah, like you're not wrong. And when I said that, I did think, oh, but that kind of did bring her back. But still, like I understand his the need for Bowden in Felicin's character growth, but I don't know.
See, I think I figured it out, listeners. Matt just likes unapologetically badass characters.
Yes, Rake as well.
Rake,
Amazing.
yeah.
We learn he has a sword. We then learn we first learn he's a powerful mage. Then we learn he has this amazing sword. Then we learn he's 7 feet tall with silver hair. And then we learn he is ancient. And then on top of that, he turns into a dragon. We got Bound over here. He may not be that, but like he withstood dragon flames. He had like insane amount of stamina. And apparently he was like an old assassin. Like all this is really cool. And his end goal in this story was for him to die so a 16-year-old girl could get a wake-up call about life.
I mean, yeah.
So I don't know. It feels like a bit of a tangent there, and it's unnecessary, but I grew more attached to him than I thought I would, to say the least.
You don't realize what you have till it's gone.
I know.
Because you didn't start like talking about Bowden like this until Fellison told him to leave.
Oh,
And then he came back and died, and now you've just
yeah,
kept with it.
no, it's true. And I think it was because like I was like always in the back of my mind, like he's cool. I like him. We don't know enough about him yet. But then as soon as like that chapter hits, it's like he's a talent and then he leaves. And then he's gone. Like we learned some of the coolest information we can about him, and then he's just out of here. I finally get the character reveal and then it's just gone. He's out. And then when he comes back, he's taken away again. I was like so looking forward to seeing more of that. Like being like, oh, will he come back and we get to see his cool powers? Nope.
I mean, he fought off a whole pack of rats to keep them alive.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he did go on a blaze of glory, quite literally. So,
Yes, he did.
anyways, Bowden tangent is over. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
the Solanda, there we go. Pretty interesting.
Solanda's here. Gessler mentions that it's timeless on the boat, and so he's sure that they won't lose any injured because they can't even grow beards when they're on board.
Oh yeah, I thought that was an interesting
So
note.
that's fun.
Yeah. And then this is the chapter where it started talking a lot about butterflies, didn't it? Or like the end of
Yeah,
last
this
chapter?
yeah, it's the beginning of this chapter. Just there's a ton of butterflies through the trees on like a migration or something like that.
Thought that was an interesting
And the river is choked with them.
I thought that was an interesting like world note, environment note.
Yeah, I mean, I think this happens with like monarch butterflies in some forest in Canada every year, I think, or somewhere
I think
in
it's
North
is it
America.
Mexico? Like they go to Mexico?
Yeah, there's some forests where they all congregate every year as part of like their massive migration, and I think they literally fly across like the whole length of North America.
Yeah, I wonder what that is.
I have no idea. I'm pulling that from Wildcrats from back in the day.
I'm gonna say I think I learned it like first grade. See what ChatGPT has to say. Millions of monarch butterflies, North America to their overwintering sites in Mexico. Can
Oh,
cover thousands of miles. Oh, so I guess they come from all over North America
oh, cool.
by sound of it. And then they go to Mexico to during the winter. They fly south like the birds.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, that's way cool. Thanks, ChatGPT.
This is why I try to finish the reading right before we start because I'm having a hard time remembering this because I read this like 5 days ago. All of the details and stuff are slipping my mind.
Yeah. No, I noticed that I would read a little too early. I always feel like I'm playing that game before we record.
Then we get an emissary from Corbolo Dom offering refuge for the refugees, and Coltane immediately turns it down.
As Coltane would.
Oh, I wouldn't trust that.
I mean, they should just send the nobles, honestly. Just be like, sure, why don't you go? Get out of here.
I don't think the nobles would have gone without the human shields of the refugees.
Yeah, it's true. But still, they should have just been like, yeah, you nobles can go. Refugees aren't going.
I love how the emissary gets there too, and I made note of this detail. The Coltane's just broken his hand, and it's swollen and probably hurts so bad. And the emissary from the enemy army gets there, and he just folds his hands behind his back and says, "Yes, what do you want?"
Oh, yeah. I love that detail. He's like, I'm not showing him. I broke my hand. He has to manifest strength, I guess is how you could say it.
I love that moment with Coltane because Gessler's like right in the middle of a sentence. Coltane is like, would you punch me too, Corporal?" And Gessler's like, yeah, you better bet." And Coltane just decks him with a sucker punch.
I'll say this, though. We better not lose these Marines again, though, now that we learned. Almost Descendants. We learn another cool detail. I can't.
Well,
I
they're
don't know.
going to Erin in the ship, so
Yeah,
they're probably safe.
probably. No one's safe in this world.
We might see them again. We might not. Who knows?
Who knows? This is true.
Anything else about that bit? I think most of the excitement with Duiker and the army is later in the chapter.
If you can call that excitement, it's a little more depressing.
How about the action then?
Yeah, the action.
Next we've got Felisin becoming Sha'ik Reborn, and she's starting to see things about everybody.
Oh no.
Makes Toblakai cry.
And we didn't get a reason why. He just saw the book and then just started crying.
We don't know what he saw or why he's crying.
And she has yet to open the book though.
Yeah, she has
I
not
remember
opened the
that.
book. She commands the others to open the book, and Leoman kind of doesn't like that at first.
But Dewworker, I thought his reveal was interesting where it talked about him. It sounded like, if I'm remembering correctly, he was more devout to Fenner, more of a devout follower than the others were.
Yeah,
And that's why he was excommunicated.
you mean Haboric? You said Duiker again.
Haboric. I know who each one is. I know that there's a difference, but their names, for some reason, I can't keep them straight. But yeah, no, I wasn't that the reasoning. Am I remembering that right?
Let's
I don't know if
see.
you remember.
Yeah, Fellison says, your hands, you were never forsaken, Haboric, no matter what the priests may have believed when they did what they did. You were simply being prepared.
So yeah, it doesn't, I guess it doesn't answer my question then, or what I
It
thought
doesn't say
specifically.
what he was being prepared for, yeah, or why what happened to him.
I think just from context, you probably won't be able to say anything if it's actually later on, but like he got kicked out for doing something. Maybe it was because of maybe it's because he wrote that history, the controversial history, got his hands chopped off and then got kicked out of being a priest and then felt abandoned by Fenner.
I mean, could be. That
And
seems to be a good
so
theory.
I feel like that's a pretty good theory because I mean, if you're a devout follower of some form of religion, I feel like this happens a lot in stories, and something bad happens that tests their faith. Sometimes they completely lose it because of something bad like that because it doesn't occur to them that it may be a preparatory moment for something later. And so I think that's why this reveal is so important to Hebrick light touch,
Yes.
not Dewicker, because he
Yes.
feels like he's like, oh, I wasn't abandoned then. Like I'm still like a member, or like he still cares about him, I guess, even though Fenner doesn't sound like a caring god from
No.
the
Doesn't
descriptions
doesn't
of
sound
him.
like it so far from what Haboric has said. Like
Yeah,
Culp says at one point, I didn't know Fenner gave mercies like that, and Haboric said he doesn't.
yeah. So I don't know. There's my theory. We'll see if I get it right. I feel like that's one of the most logical theories I've made on this, besides, I don't remember the any other ones except weird tangents and guesses.
I
But
think that's a pretty good one. And Fellison gets Haboric to realize that because Toblakai says, you know what? Let me kill him. Let his blood seal this ritual. And Felisin's like, yeah, go ahead. You're not gonna.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Haboric reacts and is able to, with his hands, is able to stop the sword and then throw 7 foot tall Toblakai.
Because he swings for the head and he blocks it.
And then
And
he
yeah,
knocks the sword out. And I think he grabs him by like the collar and the front of the shirt and just throws him.
she's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to. We were just watching something, weren't we? Or reading something. That was like a similar thing. Like, you can try, but you won't be able to.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I don't remember. Anyways,
Yeah, I don't have anything else about Felisin.
me neither.
So then we've got all of Icarium and Mappo and Fiddler's group. We have the entire conversation between Icarium and Apsalar about memories and how they might not give Icarium the peace that he desires. And then we've got the reveal about Icarium.
Yeah, because don't they like go to sleep for a minute, even though it's not really night? Because in Warren's, time really doesn't change, or like the weather or day.
Depends on the Warren.
No, it's Warren dependent. Okay. Um,
Yep.
all right, let me add that to the list of why.
Yeah, so they see the Azath, and yeah, they set out to rest for a bit before they go to the Azath and the confrontation that's happening there, even though no one can really sleep.
So is there like a bunch of creatures at the Azath house? I thought it
Yeah,
was
because
empty.
because they can hear all the creatures, because Pust laid the false trail with Apsalar and her dad's help. They laid the false
Mm,
trail that led all of the shapeshifters to the Azath house so that it can
that's right.
take them like it took the Finnest. So they think
Okay.
the Azath house is the gate, but it's not really the gate.
But it's just absorbing. Okay, that's right. Because at first I thought, I'm like, wait, weren't they trying to stop them from getting there? But no, that makes sense. Yeah.
There was,
Icarium though.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Like I haven't finished the thought.
Because mine is from Apsalar and Icarium's conversation before the full reveal about Icarium happens. Let's see. Icarium says, because she explains like all of the memories. She has the memories of Riga, the wax witch. She has the memories of Dancer, the mortal man. She has the memories of Cotillion, the god. And then she has her own memories, and she talks about how many contradictions each one has individually. And Icarium
Hmm.
says, within you then is chaos. And Upsalar says, such are memories in full flood. We are not simple creatures. You dream that with memories will come knowledge, and from knowledge, understanding. But for every answer you find, 1,000 new questions arise. All that we were has led us to where we are, but tells us little of where we're going. Memories are a weight you can never shrug off.
I like that one.
It's kind of fun to hear like a teenage girl explain that to a being that's probably 100,000 plus years old.
Yeah.
He just can't, he doesn't have memories, so he doesn't know what it's like. And Absol's like, no, memories contradict each other and don't lead to anything, like oftentimes don't lead to understanding. It's just something you carry with you.
It's an interesting way to look at memories. As a burden in some aspects. I think it's tough for her, especially just because she has so many different kind of memories.
Yeah,
She has her own, then she has um the ropes and the witches. So for her, memories are probably not her favorite, I guess.
yeah, she has a few years of her life that are missing from her
Yeah.
memories, but they're filled with other stuff.
Just murder as the god of assassins. No big deal.
Well, but remember, Mallet made it when he healed her. Mallet made it so that she wouldn't remember. Oh no, there's a scene in Guardians of the Moon. I think it's with Piran. Piran is walking through the woods with his sword, and he gets attacked by hounds, and Cotillion appears. And Cotillion says that he has left the majority of what he did when he was possessing her out of her mind. And he can put it back inside her if Piran wishes, and Gnos immediately says, no, don't do that.
So she has some things, but not everything,
Yeah, some things, but not everything,
which is good. Now
just
that,
to preserve
yeah,
her sanity.
which makes me wonder, how does he live with it? You know, like he has to be a pretty corrupt ascendant, I guess, or I don't know. Or I guess when you live that long and you're technically immortal, mortal lives are kind of just I don't know.
I think someone makes a comment when I can't remember which group it is, Fiddler's group or Felisin's group, but someone makes a comment like, walking through all of these dead cities and seeing that they're all pretty much the same, I can understand why the gods living for thousands of years get tired of it.
Yeah. So like it just keeps repeating itself.
Pretty much. But then we get Mappo telling Icarium the truth, and
Hmm.
their conversation beforehand got to me pretty good. When
I
Icarium
remember.
says, "You must realize by now," and Mappo says, "Realize what? That I would give my life for you, my only friend, my brother."
Oh yeah. No, that was a pretty touching moment.
Yeah, so we learn Icarium is consumed by rage, and when he's raging, he can't stop.
Yeah, which is kind of strange to think about that he's that powerful in a mode like a rageful mode.
And his rage burns so hot that it burns away his memories after the fact as well.
That's what it does.
I think Mappo says that, yeah.
So last time he raged, then he hasn't like that was a while ago, and he just hasn't made any new memories or something.
So I don't think he loses everything every time,
Yeah,
but if you'll remember earlier in the book, he like goes into combat mode with the leopard soul taken that attacks them, and he dispatches them like super quickly. And Mappo is worried for a second, and then
he's like
Icarium just, I think he,
because he then asks, "Wait, why is there blood on my sword?"
yeah, because then they run for a bit throughout the night, and then in the morning, I think Icarium asks Mappo what happened, and Mappo lies.
Yeah, that's some weird memory stuff.
Yep. Mappo says, "Yours is a blind rage, a rage unequaled. It burns fierce, so fierce all your memory of what you do is obliterated."
So it's like he doesn't even realize what he's doing,
Yeah, exactly.
loses complete control.
And Mappo says it began here at Tremorlore. So
Yeah,
they're returning to the place where it all began.
because didn't so Mappo though his backstory, if I'm remembering correctly, he became kind of the guardian of Icarium.
Yep.
Like he left his people to become his friend or guardian or something.
Yep. The Nameless Ones chose him to be Icarium's guardian.
And was that before Icarium destroyed everything or like later on? Do we know?
I think it was after.
Okay.
They're back to the place where it began at Tremolor, and cue the George Lucas meme of it's like poetry, it rhymes.
I don't know if I've seen that meme.
Oh, have you not?
No, that's funny.
It's a clip of him during the filming or production of one of the prequel movies, and he's explaining something that's like similar to something that happened in the original trilogy, and he straight up says, it's like poetry, it rhymes.
That's hilarious.
And
I didn't even
that's a huge meme.
it's like poetry. It
So
rhymes.
that's a big comment by people on Reddit, especially on the Star Wars subreddits when there's something in the shows that's a callback. That's
Oh yeah.
usually one of the top comments is it's like poetry, it rhymes.
I didn't how have I never seen that meme? Now I want to know why I haven't seen that. That's funny.
Maybe I'll show it to you after we're done. So Icarium is immediately like, well, if I've done what you say I've done, then I will accept imprisonment.
He's like, I will accept my destiny.
And Iscariopus is like, no, 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 no. We need you first. And then Crocus is like, yeah, but what if Icarium goes into rage mode and kills the Azath?
Oh yeah, that was yeah. Because Puss
So
is like, hey, you're kind of powerful. You're kind of like the main plan here, plan A. Without you, this ain't gonna work.
yeah, Crocus asks that. What if Icarium kills the Azath? And Map was like, dang, you understand more than I thought.
Oh yeah, forgot about that part.
And Icarium's kind of shocked, and Mappo thinks, "Oh yeah, you could do that. You have that much power."
So when we talk about power, though, this is where I'm a little confused. Is it like he has a magic, like he just radiates energy or something? Do we know
We
up to
don't
this
know any
point?
of the specifics yet. Nope.
Okay. Because yeah, I'm like, is he just like full blown like insane martial arts swordsman, just like a blur running through everything, destroying thing left and right? Or is it like he just stand there and like slowly levitates and starts radiating energy? Like, I don't know. That's what I've wondered a little bit. But
We will learn more in the future. I will say that.
I assumed. I just didn't know if we had learned anything yet.
Yeah. So speaking of killing the Azath, we also learn in these sections that like Icarium says that the house is aware and feels alive.
Oh yeah, it's like aware Karim's there, right?
Yep.
Like it's aware of the situation. And his Zath house is, from I remember from when we talked about Guardians, just so I'm remembering right, they kind of just sprout up wherever, correct?
Yeah, where they're needed, where there's power, like untapped power. Like I think Quick Ben puts it in Gardens of the Moon, like they appear wherever unrestrained power threatens life or something like that.
Yeah, that made me wonder as well. Like another question, I don't know if we'll ever get the answer, but like, where did the Azath come from then? Like, who created them? Is there a god of Azath houses?
Is there? Maybe. And then Crocus tells Puss to call more help, and he calls the Hounds of Shadow.
Oh yeah.
And Scarl Puss, Shadow Throne. My worthy Lord of Shadow is thinking, yes, thinking furiously. Such is the vastness of his genius that he can outwit even himself. And then the Hounds come, and Absalor says, I'll be damned. I didn't think he had it in him.
I know. I thought that was funny because I was like, yeah, I was wondering if you'd even listen to him.
And then one of the Hounds knocks him to the ground. You've managed to irritate your god, Pust. Nonsense. Affection. The puppy was so pleased to see me it became overexcited.
Yeah, because I'm sure that's how the Hounds of Shadow work.
They're playful little puppy dogs.
There's still the two missing ones, right? Like they haven't reappeared.
No, because Rake killed them.
But Perron set them free.
Oh yeah, they did escape into that gate.
I mean, I don't know what any of that means, but
But no, there are only five that show up here.
so were the Hounds though, were they here before Shadow Throne ascended? Do we know?
Yes, they were. Shadow was older than Shadow Throne.
But he ascended to become the Lord of the Warren
Yes.
because there wasn't a previous ruler.
Yes.
Okay, that adds up.
I was gonna say something else, but I can't yet.
One day, one day.
Did you have anything else about the Zath stuff? I just think Icarium just it's freaking sad.
Yeah, it really is. That he just,
It's an interesting like character to have. Like this uber powerful guy that's thousands of years old and yet in some ways is so naive but is so wise at the same time with the knowledge that he does retain.
but as well, like, like now at this point in the story, like how destructive he has been. And like, but you see him where he is now, and you're just like, oh, yeah, this is,
Yeah, it brings up the question. This is kind of a fun tangent, but for Halloween I saw a thread this month of like it was a or actually it was a podcast episode I was listening to or something like that where people were going through like real life horror stories and how there have been at least 68 documented case of someone murdering someone while sleepwalking. And it kind of brings up the same question that I feel about Akari. I'm like, okay, so at what point is not remembering or not being in your right mind when you commit the crime enough to like absolve you of the guilt of the crime?
yeah, that's a good
And
question.
there was no information on what the juries or the judge or the courts decided on those cases of people killing someone while sleeping. But it's like if Icarium can't remember it and Mappa says he's unable to restrain it, does he deserve eternal punishment? And Icarium says Icarium certainly believes that he does.
Yeah. Because I mean, as well, it's like, does he, like, was he just born with this rage? Was it like some power bestowed to him? Like, I mean, it may be later on in the story, like, it explains that. But, like, was this just like, that's just how it's been his whole life and he has no method of controlling it? Or is this like a progressive buildup and then after a while he started changing because of the effects of it or something?
Those are wonderful questions to ask.
They are.
Icarium just needs some therapy.
It really does. I feel like a lot of these people do, though.
I feel like most characters in fantasy could use a therapist.
Yeah. One of them invents it, though.
Kaladin does, yes.
Yep.
Have you seen Across the Spider Verse?
Yeah.
Everyone needs that maybe not quite so callous, but everyone needs that therapist in Across the Spider-Verse where there's a Spider-Man on the couch. And then my Uncle Ben, let me guess, he died.
Yeah.
There should be a therapist for losing your parents in fantasy. There should be one for finding out that your parent is actually the evil, like the villain.
Yep.
There should be one for having to kill someone you thought was a friend,
For losing a friend.
losing a lover, losing a child.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's losing a friend that, or losing your old master who sacrificed themselves to save you.
Yes, I Luke Skywalker does not need that therapist though, because he was way sadder about. Actually, he does, because he was way sadder about Uncle Ben's death, about Ben Kenobi's death, than he was about his aunt and uncle who raised him.
Yeah. He got past Yoda's death pretty quickly, though, even though he spent way more time with Yoda. Like, if you think about it, he spent in the show maybe 48 hours in total with Ben Kenobi.
Yeah,
Like, he barely spent any time with him.
and it was weeks or months with Yoda.
Yeah. And when Yoda dies, he's like, oh, I guess that's it. Yeah, we're done.
Well, there's also the people that point out that Leia's point Leia's mindset in that scene is I literally like a few hours ago I lost my entire home planet and almost everyone that I've ever loved, but this guy is sad about his old master dude that he's met a handful of times and spent 48 hours with, so I'm gonna comfort
Oh,
him
yeah.
instead.
She's true nobility. Yeah. This is I guess, another weird tangent to add to it, but I never realized, it never really hit me till I was a lot older, like the extent of what really happened in A New Hope. Because I remember as a kid watching that movie all the time, but it wasn't until like a few years ago when it finally hit me, I was like, oh, they blew up a whole planet of people just to prove a
Uh-huh.
point.
Billions of people. Yep.
Yeah. I remember sitting there like, oh, wait, no, they blew up that planet. There's a lot of people on that planet.
I mean, when you think about it in the terms of the entire Star Wars galaxy, it's not a big deal. I'm totally joking, by the way. It's still a huge deal.
Oh,
But
it's a huge deal. Every time I hear of Alderaan though blowing up, I think of the Phineas and Ferb Star Wars one that they made. I don't know if
I
you ever
never saw
saw it
that.
because it was like right when Disney got the license for Star Wars or like the rights for Star Wars, and so they did a bunch of like Star Wars themed episodes on Disney Channel. They
Of
made like a
course.
whole episode for Phineas and Ferb though. It was actually pretty good. And Doofenshmirtz had like a ski Alps house on Alderaan. He's like, it's
Oh,
doing great right now. And then all of a sudden he's like, wait, why'd the price go down? Why is it
no.
why'd I lose all my money? I was like, poor guy can't catch a break. Anyways,
Back to the depressing chapter.
yeah, back to Icarium.
I mean, I don't have anything else really about Icarium or the Azath or any of that stuff.
Me neither. No.
Okay, then we've got the massacre at the river.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on this?
This entire book, I've been like, are they gonna make it out? Who's gonna survive this? And then this massacre happens. I'm like, well, we'll see who makes it out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people still survive, but it's the nobles again.
I was annoyed that someone choked out Dewicker.
I mean, he was gonna kill that guy, but he probably deserved it.
Oh, he definitely deserved it. I think it was a pretty. The Chain of Dog campaign has been really depressing. And it was interesting to see how quickly the refugees were just like, yeah, they immediately just started fighting back. Like kind of tooth and nail mentality of just like
With
throwing
bare
themselves at
hands
him.
against pikes and swords, just
Yeah,
driven to the point of rage and insanity.
which is kind of crazy to think about that they got to that point mentally.
I mean, I don't know if they would have ever gotten to that point if they hadn't been promised safety first and then just immediately seen that taken away.
Yeah, like kind of betrayed.
Because we get
And,
almost like that montage of Duiker holding onto the rope, sliding through the refugees,
oh
and
yeah,
just the horror and the moment that always sticks with me is the catching the woman who falls over and seeing that her baby has actually been impaled
with her
to
as
her.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on the arrow.
no, I thought that was really sad. I remember when I read that, I was like, oh, that's really sad and depressing.
I mean, Coltane does amazingly well considering the circumstances. Like immediately gets all of the soldiers into formation.
I mean, he's Coltane. Of course, he's going to be able to pull something together. Near Ascendant, I would imagine so. I
I mean,
mean,
maybe one of the smartest commanders I've ever seen in fantasy.
honestly, though, like some of the stuff he's pulled off, it's been pretty good. I've been impressed.
He's gotten them way farther than he ever should have been able to.
Oh, that's for sure. I think it's interesting though as well. It was probably brought up in the last chapter or when they brought up the deal or they talked about they're like, well, what about the dude in Arn? And you're like, if he was gonna help, he would have been here ages ago.
Oh yeah, that was last chapter.
Yeah. Because yeah, it just reminded me of that, like how well he's done, even with knowing like there's no help really coming, type of thing. But in the battle as well, the what's his name? The Sormo, the wizard, gets killed once again, but sounds like he still makes it out alive somehow.
Well, we don't know for sure because but instead of ravens,
It's
not ravens,
butterflies.
crows that go to collect his soul, it's hundreds of butterflies.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if it's the same kind of thing,
That
but
image though of the hand like reaching above the water and then slowly sinking down.
that was Sormo, right?
hmm I've never really been impacted by that death. Like Duiker is like devastated, and I'm like, ah, that's like goat head kid.
Yeah, I think it's probably because he has seen him like to see the image of like a younger, like he's old
Yeah,
technically, but like his body appears to be like a kid. So I think seeing that probably would get him.
and Duiker spent a lot more time with him, and we've only gotten a handful of scenes here and there.
Yeah, he was another one where I was like, he's cool, but he's never been really intriguing to me. Um, I felt like, oh, he's a cool wizard, but I don't know.
Yeah, the premise of what he is intriguing, but his character itself never really gets explored that much.
Yeah, never really amounts to much, like terms of interest and intrigue after that.
I don't have anything else to say about that really. It's just it sucks.
It
But
does.
Corbolo Dom played that really well. Immediately knew that Coltane would would deny the request for the refugees to cross safely. Sent one to the nobles, knowing that they would accept and blame Coltane, and the refugees would just swarm ahead.
Yep. Started going. Do we know which of the wounded made it out? Was it refugees and soldiers?
I don't know. I don't think it was ever made clear.
I'm just trying to remember.
I would assume mostly soldiers.
Yeah, because they're the ones who would really get wounded in the fights, I
hmm
guess. How I think about it.
Well, and I think even Corporal, not Corporal, Captain Lowell.
Oh, he
Um,
goes.
I don't think he leaves. Actually, he's still there with the train. But what I was going to bring up is that he earlier in the book makes a mention of like they're conserving water for the soldiers, and the refugees are making do on their own.
That okay, that makes sense.
Because I mean, as callous as it is, the priority kind of has to be the army.
Yeah. Can you tell me you're gonna have weak defenders defend a bunch of really in shape refugees?
Yes, they're all so in shape.
Yeah. I don't have much else here.
What do you think is going to happen with the chain of dogs moving forward?
We don't see much in chapter 17, do we?
No,
Not
chapter
ever.
17 is the vast majority of it is Kalam with a little bit of Felisin.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's Kalam's chapter. Yeah, I remember. It's a great question. I really don't have an idea because I think go of two ways. They're on the run still, or they're prisoners. Like they're now captives. Unless for some miracle, like help comes. I think that's really all that's gonna be.
Well, good thoughts. Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Chapter 17. Kalam joins the captain for dinner with Sal Kalan and the treasurer. Pirates are chasing them, and the treasurer is helping Pormkal steal treasure rather than transport it. As Kalam leaves, the ship turns around to attack the pirates. Kalam tells the Marines who he is and makes sure of their loyalty before heading to the tiller. He finds a few crew members killed by the treasurer's bodyguards and the captain injured but alive. He and Sal Kalan take the captain to his quarters and Kalam stitches him up. Kalam kills the remaining bodyguard, and Kalam threatens the treasurer as the pirates come alongside the Ragstopper. A fight breaks out, with an Encoral killing most of the Marines before Kalam takes it down. They manage to kill the pirates, and they throw the treasurer overboard, weighed down with coins. Felisin, now Sha'ik Reborn, as well as Hiborik and the two bodyguards near the rebellion camp. She makes some cutting remarks and puts on Sha'ik's clothing. The captain of the Ragstopper is not well, and Kalam is suspicious of some magical intervention. They spot Tavor's fleet heading for 7 cities, and Kalam tries to put cracks in Salkalan's confidence. Kalam on the ship feels kind of like a side story,
Very
or
much
like,
so.
but I still enjoy it quite a lot.
I agree. The whole banter at dinner, so strange to me, personally.
You know what Kalam's story reminds me of? Have you ever played or seen like Assassin's Creed 3? It's the
That's Black
Revolutionary
Flag.
War one.
Oh, that's no, I haven't.
Because the beginning of that story, like the real beginning of it, the character is on a ship headed to America, and they had to, for some reason, they couldn't just say he got on a ship and then a few months later he got to America. They had to have like 30 to 45 minutes of story on
On
the
the
ship
ship.
of him walking around talking to different crew members, figuring out who's going to mutiny, who's planning to steal stuff. And it very much feels like Kalam's story here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it very much is just you know something's gonna happen, you just don't know when or what. That's how that this whole dinner and start of this felt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because what happened here again? They had dinner and then after dinner is when everything went down, right?
Yeah, the ship turns around to attack the pirates, and Kalam's like, "This captain is crazy."
Even though he's now been knocked out, almost killed.
I mean, he is crazy still. Like
Yeah.
pirate Kalam joined them for dinner because he was curious what the captain would do about the pirates, and the captain's like, "Let's ram them."
Isn't that what happens though? Don't they like somehow ram them?
Yeah, they do ram them, and it kind of works out. But also, pretty much all the Marines are killed. Several of the
Yeah.
crew members are killed.
Yeah. It sounds like nothing is gonna go well.
Yeah, so the treasure is at first Kalam thinks the treasurer is helping High Fist Pornquell steal treasure from Aaron. Turns out the treasurer has a pirate uncle and is gonna take who's gonna take the treasure, and he's gonna join him on the ship and take his share.
Yeah, he's just gonna steal the treasure just to steal the treasure.
Yep.
Thought that was I mean, it serves the High Fist right.
Everyone has their own agenda.
Yeah. So I mean, I kind of see it as like, well, kind of expected it to happen then. But that was funny. He's like, no, I got an uncle.
Kalam's like, what's going to stop them from slitting your throat and throwing you overboard once they have the treasure? I don't think my uncle and cousins would do that to me.
No. That's not how this family business works.
I'm like, if your family are pirates, then it might work like that.
Cracks me up though that it's a family of pirates. Like it's a pirate family, like a legitimate one.
Yeah, at least some of them are his family members, but there's like 50 something pirates.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even think pirates would be involved in this kind of thing. Or be like an actual like part of this world. But I mean, I now it feels like obvious. Like of course there's pirates.
Yeah, any time you have like oceans, I feel like you're gonna have some pirates.
Yeah. Like this was very much one of those things where it's like this is an unnecessary part of the story, I feel like. But he's just like, I just want to throw this in, you know? Like, let's just have a fun little short story writing sesh.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of what it feels like.
It's like Kalam's adventures at sea.
This is the interlude in Kalam's quest to kill Lasine.
Yeah, it feels like one of the interludes in Sanderson's Stormlight books.
Except it follows a main character instead of jumping to a completely new set.
Yeah, do some random side character where you're like, wait, what? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of 50 pirates, until the gigantic lizard shows up, the Marines do pretty well. Like 20 Marines against 50 something pirates. They do pretty okay.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the lizard though.
Yeah, the giant flying lizard appears because the pirates have a mage. And we find out that Salkalan is a mage.
Because he's like, leave it to me.
Yeah, leave the mage to me. You go kill that gigantic flying lizard.
Yep. At first, like when I read it, it was like I thought I understood it as I'll take care of the lizard type of thing, and you just keep fighting them. But then it showed Kalam killing the lizard, so I was like, I thought the other dude's taking care of the lizard. I got it mixed up.
What did you think of Salkalon here?
I thought it was pretty funny his and Kalam's banter, where he's just like, I don't like you, but you're really the only guy here that I can trust.
Yeah, at one point Salk says like, "So, my reluctant friend."
Yeah. And he's just like, we're not friends. What do you mean friends? I don't have friends.
Yeah, and Kalam like, I don't like him. I don't like his personality. I don't trust him. And he knows bad ale when he tastes it. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was so funny as well. They just kept making fun of the ale, even on the ship as well.
Or the
Like this
food.
food. Yeah.
Like Salkalon says something about like, yeah, someone would swear to that, just as the cook would swear that he just served us dinner. But this wasn't food.
No, not at all. Sure didn't sound like it. Makes me so happy when people are like, man, I'd love to go back to the days of the pioneers. Everything seemed more simple. And I'm like,
No.
are you kidding me? Do you remember what they ate? Sounds terrible.
Yeah, no thanks. I think the theme of times before like 1800 was like smallpox for everyone.
Yeah. Then when you're at sea, it's a scurvy for everyone.
Or as Jim Gaffigan says, why does everything smell like poop?
Yeah. In this, can they use magic to make food? Is that a thing?
I don't think that's ever shown, so I don't know.
Because
Maybe.
I know it's like Harry Potter, you can't
Yeah,
make
for some
food.
reason that's an arbitrary rule in Harry Potter.
That's just some rule. You can't do any sort of magic on the food. But in Stormlight, they can make food with some restrictions. And
Yeah,
then in
I don't
this,
think I don't think anything's ever shown like that.
yeah, because I was just wondering, I was like, wait a second, can they not? If they're at sea, could they just make like really good food then? Like if you're a specific kind of mage?
Yeah.
But
Um, but like Kalam makes a note because in Malazan magic is more present than in other stories.
yeah,
But Kalam also makes a note when he takes like Kneb and Manala and the family into the Imperial Warren. Like he's reminded that, oh yeah, I've been in Warrens a lot, but for most people, Warrens almost feels like a myth or something that you hear about, but you never think that you'll get to see, and you don't really have a good understanding of it.
I guess that's true. Yeah, because because as much as we see it in the story, not everyone's like super deeply involved. So I guess that's true.
Yep. So Kalam finds some bodyguards killed. I guess we don't really need to go back to that because we've already gotten to the flying lizard.
Yeah.
I love how Sal Kalan kills because one bodyguard just got unlucky and was standing at the wrong place at the wrong. Well, actually, the captain ducked his sword swing and he cut a rope that sent a beam flying into his head. So that's
Got him.
unlucky.
Yep.
And then Salkalan kills the remaining bodyguard, and it feels so casual. Like the bodyguard starts stepping towards Kalam, and he just throws a knife into his neck and walks down the stairs. And they're like, "So, treasurer, what are we going to do about this?"
I always think it's funny knife throwing in fantasy and stuff. Because I don't know if you've ever done any like sort of like throwing of like knives or
I've
axes.
gone like small axe throwing. Yeah, it's hard to hit your target.
Oh, for sure. Like, and then I remember like a couple scout camps or something. There's like I think knife throwing there as well on top of like the small hatchet. Because like a while ago I went on a date and we did like axe throwing, and that was pretty tough, just even to like make sure it sticks. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever I hear stuff like this where it's like fling a small knife and
Yeah,
it's
just
like
zip a knife out.
somehow kills them, I'm like, how how long have you practiced? Like how long have you been training to get that at that point? If that's even
Yeah.
a thing.
Or even Kalam in the scene earlier in the book when he kills like those 8 people, he gets
Yeah.
two perfectly placed arrow shots off. And I'm like, I mean, you do have the fun theories about like maybe all of these fantasy humans are just stronger and more coordinated than us regular humans.
Yeah. Or like it's just like a form of magic, like a passive form of magic. Like the more you train or something, it just enhances your abilities. Because it made me think of the movie we watched where he catches the
Oh,
knife and then immediately throws it back and nails him.
yeah. So for listeners, we at a work Halloween party. Not really a work party because it's just a bunch of us that are friends hanging out, but we watched Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah, that's what it's called.
I did not like that movie.
Neither did I.
It's quite racist towards Chinese people, but the main character is a young um
It's Kurt Russell, by the way.
it's a young Kurt Russell,
Yeah.
and his character is like useless throughout the movie, but gives off the quote unquote alpha male energy. And he's useless throughout the movie, does nothing, and then at the very end, out of nowhere, he catches a knife thrown by the main bad guy and whips it back into his head, and that's how
And
they beat
this
the main villain.
that's like apparently like this 2,000-year-old being or something. I don't even know.
And he's a truck driver.
Yeah. And he missed badly his first knife throw. Terribly. He hit the like metal gong behind it
Oh
and
yeah.
he was just like and the guy picks it up, he's like, "Oh, this is a knife, nice knife." Here we go.
This is a knife.
This is a knife. And Melee just chucks it. He like picks it up and chucks it at Kurt Russell. But Kurt Russell, after foreshadowing his reflexes earlier in the movie, the one useful thing, catches it and throws it back before like you can even blink.
Foreshadowing his reflexes by catching a bottle that
Yeah.
flew up off a table, which
Yep.
yeah, I think all of it. I mean, the guy that was hosting, who is the namesake of the ending of our podcast, Todd,
Yeah.
he loves the movie, but I think the rest of us there were like, what the hell are we watching?
I know. We were all watching it just because of him
Yeah.
and just for him, honestly. I mean, I'm glad I can say I've watched it just so I can be like, I've watched it.
So I can say I've watched it.
Yep.
I
Don't
don't need to
recommend
see
it.
that movie again. Yeah.
Yep. Anyways, that's our tangent on knife throwing, everyone.
Yes. And then all of the Marines are down, so Sal Kalan and Kalam and whatever remains of the crew are able to kill like all of the remaining pirates.
Somehow. I was a little confused by that.
Yep. It's just a montage, like a one paragraph montage of Kalam sprinting through and hacking and slashing and grabbing a sword really quick and leaving it impaled in another guy so he has his hand free to grab someone else and all of that good stuff.
Just one of those moments where you're like, why didn't that happen earlier to save everyone else? Or I guess it's because everyone else would have been in his way. So he has to wait for everyone else to die. So then he can be the
Yeah, I
last
mean,
one
he
standing.
didn't need to do that until everyone else was down.
That's true.
Yeah, so they kill all the pirates and then they weigh the treasurer down with coins and they toss him overboard.
Death by coins. It's a fitting end.
And the sharks are so full that they don't even go for him and he just keeps sinking down.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Oh my god. His greed killed him. It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Uh,
Uh-oh, that might be a new bit on our podcast.
I am so happy you told me about that. That is awesome. Uh,
And then we'll get to Felisin at the end, but I just because for some reason there's a Felisin section and then it goes back to Kalam.
oh yeah.
But I think like the next morning or something, they see the massive fleet that Tavor's leading headed to Seven Cities, and Saul Kalan is like, I bet you, an old soldier, do you wish you were on the decks looking at the merchant ship, like off in the distance, and make some quip about him always having partnerships with Quick Ben and someone else before Quick Ben, and like, what a shame that you're alone now. And Kalam says, but how do you know I'm not alone?
That was a bit of a weird ending.
I love
Just
just so like sarcastic and thinks he's so witty and smart.
it's true. We need him. Who's the other dude we were talking about? Like the weird one that needed to speak with Krupp. Oh,
Oh, Pust.
Pust,
Yeah.
Krupp, and this dude
Oh man.
walk into a bar.
I feel like there's a lot of groups of people that yeah. I think do you know Daniel Green?
Yeah,
He's a big
not
fantasy
personally, but
he's a big fantasy YouTuber, and cannot for the life of me remember what video it was, but he was talking about like fantasy characters he would want to date or something, and he had just finished up Malazan, and I think he said something like, I'm staying away from anyone in Malazan because they're all badasses that I feel like would kill me.
That's true. I mean, Crocus is barely keeping up with Absolar.
I wouldn't even want to get on Crocus's bad side because he's practicing those knife moves.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like I wouldn't be one around him and Absolar. I mean, granted, she inherited her abilities from the god of assassins, so it's kind of an unfair advantage. But
It's like a line that a character from Wheel of Time says. One of his one of his rules for women is stay away from women whose brothers have knife scars.
oh, that's a good rule. Good rule of thumb in fantasy.
And then we just have Felisin. They're nearing the rebel camp, and she puts on Sha'ik's clothes.
That's it, right?
Pretty much, Leoman says that it would be best if you wore the clothes exactly as she did, and she's like, to help aid in the deception.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I don't have much else to say about that scene.
I think he's just a creep as well, but I mean, I don't know.
Well, I don't think Leoman is a creep. He's just a cynic that
That's true.
found himself here but doesn't really have any faith in the rebellion or the apocalypse.
Nope. Now it's Coltane resisting it.
Oh yeah, because Felisin, this is the section where she talks about like what do you hear about of Coltane? And like his soldiers worship him, and people follow where he goes without question, and he inspires them greatly. And even Corbolo Dom's army that's harassing them like sing praises to him. And she's like, and you've never followed someone like that, have you, Leoman? And he says no.
I wonder if he's jealous.
He could be, or just maybe doesn't quite believe that someone like that can exist, because people like that are few and far between.
It's true. Yeah, no, that's accurate. He could be thinking that as well. He's such a mystery to me, Lumen. I always forget kind of like what he's like. Like every time he's brought up, I'm like, what is he? Who is he again?
I think part of that is because he doesn't let people in to see what he's really like.
Like he hasn't been shown much either. Like there hasn't been much time for him.
Yeah, that's true as
So
well.
yeah, Fellowson hogging the spotlight. Wonder why. Have become like the goddess of the apocalypse or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know.
it's almost like there's like a goddess or something that's slowly taking over.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like maybe it's some important plot with her, but come on, give Leoman some page time. Like seriously,
Well,
I've
listen,
already
we went
seen
over
her.
this. You need to stop making cutting and snide remarks at people.
You need to stop stealing the show and make everything about you. Not everything's about you, honey.
So that's pretty much the end of our reading this week.
Hopefully, that middle whatever we cut off makes sense.
Yeah, I'll just put both recordings in the same file and it should be fine.
Yeah,
So we will be back. We're reading 18, 19, 20, and 21 next week. So it'll be a big episode.
yeah. 2 episodes left of book 2. Then is what we're thinking.
Yep. After next week, we'll do chapter 22 through 24, and then the epilogue as well. And then we'll hopefully have some guests on to discuss book 2 as a whole.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So
I think that's it. So how was that, Todd?